Hi all, I hope you're well. Just a quick note before we start this week's episode that due to a technical issue when we were recording, the only voice you will hear from about minute 2 to minute 16 is mine. It's Alex has very fantastically edited it so that it broadly sounds natural, but if you get into that and wonder why you're not hearing Alex responding to me at all, that is why. If you can't cope with a pure 15-minute undiluted cut of George, then just skip ahead. But you will, of course, miss my reviews of Shang-Chi and Annette. That is your call to make. But I'll see you on the other side, and have a good one. Bye.
Two friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two friends just made a podcast. It's called Culture Bucket. Two friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two friends just made a podcast. Culture Bucket, George and Annette.
Okay, hi everybody, hi energy, welcome to episode 47 of the Culture Bucket podcast, the best podcast in the world, professionally produced, edited, mixed, everything promoted by the master of ceremonies, my co-host, Alex. Hi, Alex.
Wow. Hi, George. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
That was a great intro.
Good,
Thank you.
I'm glad. How are you doing today? Great, yeah? Good day today? Great, doing well?
Great day. Never better. We haven't had a technical issue. It's all funky-dory.
No, I don't even
How
know
are
why
you, George?
it's just a weird
Also
thing to say.
excited. It's been our first year podiversary.
It has been our first year
We've been
podiversary.
recording for a year.
A full year of Culture Bucket has happened. It's incredibly exciting. The third...
We're still excited about it.
Yeah, broadly. I am. I think it's good. Numbers are going up at the moment a little bit, which is exciting.
Yeah, we're getting more listeners.
Yeah, we had a good few listeners for that Promising Young Woman episode we did, which I think is nice. If you did listen to that, please email us and let us know what you think about the movie. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
Or just, messages on Instagram or however you get in touch would be great. Today, though, we're talking about zombies, the undead. It's getting into autumn.
Yeah.
We're dipping our toes in the spooky waters of autumn, and they've come out all covered in maggots and bones and stuff because it's zombie season, baby. So top 5 zombie movies today. Exciting stuff.
Yeah, very exciting. I haven't watched many zombie movies, so my list was pretty easy to make. I just had to put the 6 I've seen in order.
Good. I'm glad. My list is insane and stupid, so we'll get to that. I'm sure our lists might be completely different this week.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think
because there's loads of movies that I almost maybe like more than the movies I've put on my top 5, but I wanted to highlight some maybe lesser loved or discussed zombie films. So we'll see how it goes. We'll get there.
This is Culture Catch-Up Time. This is where we talk about what we've watched, what we've read, what we've listened to, and probably some other stuff. Culture Catch-Up Time.
Well, this is it. It's Culture Catch-Up Time. We're doing it right now, as always, at the start of the episode. I'm going to talk about just 2 films today that I've watched since we last recorded, and a TV show, and then a couple of album recommendations, but not too much to say about those beyond that they're good. But first of all, I went to cinema on Friday, our podiversary day, to see a double bill of the newest entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and also the new musical Annette. I watched both of those one after the other, so we'll talk about them. First up, Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is an origin story for, I would say, one of Marvel's lesser-known superheroes. First of all, it's pretty notable, historic, for being the first Asian superhero film in the MCU, all about Asian characters, which is exciting, and I think is a really big deal for Asian culture and Asian representation, and it's pretty brilliant on that respect. It is a film that follows. Well, we open on Sean, played by an actor called Simu Liu, who I don't know particularly, but I think he starred in a sitcom for years, and is fairly popular. But yeah, he plays Sean, and we open on him in, I think his late 20s. He's working as a valet in San Francisco with his best friend Katie, played by Awkwafina. And Katie and Sean, played by Simulu and Awkwafina, work as valets at a hotel, and it sets up pretty early on that the pair of them have a lot of potential and are sort of squandering it on what the people in their lives consider to be a fairly dead-end job. But the thing is, they're happy, so who's to say that they're doing the wrong thing, really? But one day on the way to work, somebody on the bus, a shady-looking man, approaches Sean and demands that he give him the pendant that surrounds Sean's neck. And Katie, Awkwafina, is confused by this, but Sean seems to understand what's going on, and he gets attacked and very quickly shows himself to be a master in martial arts. And there is the first big action set piece in this movie is on this sort of, do you know the bendy buses? They have them in London, I think, that have like a concertina thing in the middle. One of those buses going through San Francisco, and Sean, or as we soon learn, Shang-Chi, has to fight off a group of assassins on this bus, including one giant guy who has a knife for an arm, which is pretty cool. And once this fight scene ends, Shang-Chi, or Sean, explains to Katie that he is actually Shang-Chi, and his father is the leader of a international terrorist organisation known as the Ten Rings, and he escaped, and now they are looking for him, and it's all connected to his sort of lineage and legacy and his mother and father, and it's a really sort of family-centred story. The villain is Shang-Chi's dad, who controls these 10 rings that he wears them on his wrists, and they give him these powers. And Shang-Chi has to kind of stand in opposition to him due to what he wants to do, and they end up fighting, obviously, and it all sort of... And it's a good film. I enjoyed it. Simu Liu as Shang-Chi is excellent. He's really funny, and he can definitely do all the physical stuff. Awkwafina is absolutely... I mean, you always knew she was going to be, but she's amazing as she's sort of the audience surrogate, because she ends up being dragged along on this ride in a Dr. Watson style. She doesn't have any superpowers, but she's sort of dragged along, and you see this new world through her eyes almost. She kind of has that viewpoint for the audience, and she's really funny and really good in it. You've also got... I really am sorry if I mispronounce these names, but I will do my best. An actress called Menge Zhang plays Zhu Jialing, who is Shang-Chi's sister, who runs a underground fighting ring, and she's amazing. And her, again, she has plenty of fight scenes. She fights with... Do you remember in Kill Bill, the actress from Battle Royale plays that character who has the mace? Shang-Chi's sister fights with a very similar weapon, a sort of a rope that has a dagger on one end and this kind of heavy weighted ball on the other, and whenever you see her kind of whipping that around, it always looks amazing. The fight scenes in this movie are incredible. And an actor called, where is he now, Tony Leung plays Zhu Wenwu, or the Mandarin as he's known in the comics, and he's the bad guy, and he's apparently a kind of an icon of, I think, Hong Kong cinema. He's like Tom Cruise famous in China, but I think this is his first ever English-speaking role, his first ever time acting in an American film. And you can kind of see why he's so beloved in his home country. He's really, really good in this film and adds like loads of weight to the villain, which is brilliant. And yeah, it's great. Michelle Yeoh's in there as well, playing a character I won't talk about too much because it's a bit of a spoiler, but she's really, really good when she turns up. My only criticism of the film as a whole is that it sort of ends up feeling like a lot of promises are being made about the future. And I think that when we see this character in this world turn up again in future films, it's going to be a bit more interesting because they've got the initial exposition of who Shang-Chi is and what this organization is and all of these things. They've got all of that out the way in this movie, and I think it adds scope for the future. And certainly in the tradition of standard MCU movies, the post-credit scenes also sort of set up that. And bring in characters like Benedict Wong from the Doctor Strange movies, sort of potentially is going to be involved in this area of the franchise and stuff as well, which is pretty fantastic. So yeah, it's a good film. And you're going to be able to see it pretty soon, Alex, even if you don't go to the cinema, because in a strange move, it's going to turn up on Disney Plus, I think, in just 45 days after it's premiered theatrically. Controversial decision in some to some people, I think, the shortening of that theatrical window, but it does at least mean that people like you might be able to watch it a little bit sooner. Yeah, so no, Shang-Chi, definite positive review for me, really liked it. Next film, a little bit more controversial maybe, or not controversial, but a little bit more sort of, your mileage may vary kind of thing, is Annette. It's the English language debut feature film of sort of iconic French auteur Leos Carax, who has directed a fair amount of films in French in the past. The one I've heard of is Holy Motors, which is famously kind of an incredibly strange and surreal movie. But I've not actually seen it. This is the first film of his I've seen. But this is a collaboration with iconic pop duo Spark. So they're an interesting band, actually. They've been around since the 70s. They've done like well over 20 albums, 25 albums or something. And somehow 2021 has been their year, because earlier this year, and I didn't manage to see it, which was really disappointing, but a really big, like 2.5 hour long documentary on their entire career came out, directed by, of all people, Edgar Wright, who's a big fan of them. So that was kind of a big deal. And I'm hoping to watch that when it sort of, I missed it in the cinema, but hopefully I'll watch it when it hits streaming or something. But then also, along with that documentary, which has really kind of given them a lot of notice, they have done this musical directed by Leos Carax, but all of the music has been done by Ron Mayle and Russell Mayle from Sparks, and they wrote the story and the screenplay, and it's kind of their film as well. And it's absolutely mad. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes long. It's an epic, and it follows the story of Henry McHenry, played by Adam Driver, who is a stand-up comedian. And if you think casting Adam Driver as a stand-up comedian is an odd choice, that's the first of 1,000 odd choices that this movie makes. And Marion Cotillard, who's an amazing actress, plays Anne Defresno. And she is an opera singer, and the film is the tale of their showbiz romance, effectively, and their subsequent daughter, Annette, who the film is named after, who is shown in the movie through puppetry. Annette is a puppet in the film. Yeah. You've also got Simon Helberg, who I don't really know, but he starred in The Big Bang Theory. He plays a character called the Accompanist, and he's brilliant in this movie, actually, Simon Helberg. I've never watched The Big Bang Theory. I never will watch The Big Bang Theory. But he presumably was wasted by The Big Bang Theory, because he's pretty good in this film. It's hard to describe Annette much beyond that. It follows their romance. It's almost entirely sung through. There's almost no spoken dialogue. I think there might be one line of spoken dialogue in the entire film. The songs are built almost entirely through repetition of certain phrases. For example, there's a song where she's giving birth to Annette where the doctors are saying breathe, 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 and that becomes almost a chant in the song. It's sort of, you can tell when you're watching it that you're watching a film by an auteur, in the way that when you're watching a film by Wes Anderson, you can tell that he's making, like, everything you see on screen is a choice that he's made. When you're watching a film by David Lynch, everything you see on screen is a choice he's made. This film feels very similar. Different characters are always dressed in specific colours that are meant to reflect certain things. Annette being a puppet has a lot of symbolism connected to it. Maybe one of the characters views her as a prop to be manipulated, and that's why she's a puppet kind of thing. There's a lot of, you can read 100 different things into every scene of this film, and it is kind of overwhelming at times. It opens with this incredible performance of a song called So May We Start, which literally opens with the director on camera asking May We Start, and then it cuts to the band Sparks performing this song, and they walk out of the studio and bump into Adam Driver and Marion Cotillard, and then they walk down the street singing this song, and then it just segues into the story of the film from there, and it kind of like sets you up immediately as you're watching something that's not going to be a traditional kind of experience. So ultimately, I don't want to go into it too much more than that because I don't want to spoil kind of the joys of the movie. I really loved it and thought it was amazing. I gave it 5 stars. The person I went to see it with said at the end, that's the worst film I've seen this year, and it's probably the worst film I've ever seen. So it's not going to be for everyone because it is but if you enjoy cinema that is produced by, I guess, auteur is the word, auteurs, if you enjoy cinema that has a lot of meaning, symbolism behind it, and ideas, and doesn't necessarily tell, I don't know, it's hard to, because the story of this movie is very kind of, famous showbiz couple falls in love and has drama. That's kind of a normal story that you'll have heard before, but just the way this film tells its story is unlike anything I've seen ever before. So I thought it was amazing. I really, really liked it. I'd recommend it, but you need to settle in for an unusual time, I think, with Annette. Yeah. Next up, I'm going to talk about TV show I mentioned briefly in the Promising Young Woman episode, The White Lotus, from HBO. 6 one-hour-long episodes. It is a satire, a black comedy satire, created, written, directed, produced, in all of these things by Mike White, who is probably most well known to most people as the director of School of Rock. Back in the day, amazing. Which is exciting. He's created the show The White Lotus, which is a sort of quite savage satire of rich white Americans, or just rich white people, and the way that they can cause absolute havoc and mayhem, but ultimately it's quite I don't want to get into too much about what happens at the end of it, but it's very real about the world, and it doesn't sort of try to portray anything as how it would probably go down in real life, so it can be quite shocking at times, but it's a good show, man. It kind of follows a group of tourists during a week's stay at an unbelievably expensive hotel and resort called the White Lotus in Hawaii. I think a lot of it was filmed at the Four Seasons Hotel in Hawaii, and I was looking that up, and the similar rooms have cost $1,800 a night, Alex.
Wow.
$1,800 a night.
I couldn't do it.
No. That's like 3 months' rent for me. That's a lot of money. So, yeah I'm not staying there. But some people are staying there, including the Mosbacher family, a very, very rich and wealthy family. The matriarch of the family, Nicole Mosbacher, is played by Connie Britton, who was in Promising Young Woman playing the Dean, and she's fantastic in that, and she's fantastic in this. As the CFO of a large tech company, a search engine company. Her husband, Mark Mosbacher, is played by Steve Zahn, and he sort of goes through a variety of health scares and existential crises during the series. And their two children, Olivia and Quinn, are played by Sydney Sweeney plays Olivia, who is a sort of a teenager who kind of presents as being very, what you would say, I guess, is woke, and very sort of, is an interesting character, actually. And sort of almost at the start, her and her friend Paula, who she's brought on holiday with her, Paula played by Brittany O'Grady, who isn't white, who I think is mixed race heritage. They almost initially seem like they're meant to be the kind of audience surrogate that you see the series through their eyes, but then very quickly they become the most strange and weird characters. There's a whole scene of them doing ASMR, and you can't quite tell if they're in a relationship, if they're just friends. It's a very almost, I guess, modern look at a relationship between two teenagers, which is interesting. And then her brother Quinn is played by Fred Heshinger, who I've seen recently in The Woman in the Window, but is much better here than he was in that. And he's kind of socially awkward, addicted to his phone, addicted to his tablet and all of these things, and maybe isn't particularly interested on being on holiday in Hawaii, but goes on a pretty fascinating and interesting journey over the course of the series, which is cool. So that's the Mossbacher family. We follow them. Then we also follow a newly married couple played by Alexandra Daddario playing Rachel, and Jake Lacey, who plays Shane, and they are on their honeymoon in the White Lotus. And finally, the last main sort of guest that we follow is Tanya McQuoid, played by the perfect Jennifer Coolidge, who has recently lost her mother and has brought her mother's ashes with her on this trip to hopefully scatter. So we follow all of them, and we kind of follow them through the eyes of the hotel manager, Armand, played by an actor called Murray Bartlett, who's Australian. I don't really know him for anything, but he's amazing in this series. Watching the journey he goes through is incredible, and I won't spoil any of that here, but he's amazing. And we also follow quite closely, particularly through the Jennifer Coolidge storyline, Belinda, the manager of the hotel's spa, who's played by Natasha Rothwell. And again, just because it's a satire on rich white people, it's important to mention that Belinda is a black woman. And again, sort of characters who think they're helping might end up just trampling all over her life and the lives of other people. And it's sort of sad but real and funny and complex and all the things you want a really good HBO series to be. I don't want to spoil too much of what happens in The White Lotus, because it's kind of, that's the joy of watching it, is kind of seeing the where these characters start and where they end up, and do they actually end up anywhere different to where they start, and all these things. But I'll very quickly talk about the two characters I found most interesting, maybe, or at least one of the characters I found most interesting, which is Rachel, played by Alexandra Daddario, an actress that you've probably seen in stuff, Alex.
Yeah, I've seen her in a few things. Percy Jackson.
Yeah, I think she initially started off in Percy Jackson and then became kind of more widely known through True Detective, the first season of True Detective.
Yeah.
And she's great.
She was in a film called When We First Met. It's about a guy that goes back in time.
Yes, yeah, with Adam Devine from Pitch Perfect.
I quite like that film. She was really good in.
Yeah, she is. So she sort of started off in Percy Jackson, then she was in True Detective, and she's really, really good in True Detective, and I've always been kind of a fan of hers because of True Detective, and I kind of hoped she'd be in more, prestigious dramas, films, kind of go that route with her career. And she's brilliant in stuff, but she's often in stuff that to me feels almost beneath what I think her talents are. For example, When We First Met is a good Netflix romantic comedy film, and she's good in it, but she could be in, I don't know, more. She's in a Texas Chainsaw movie, which is not a very good film, but she's good in it. She's in what else has she been in recently? She was in the Baywatch movie, which I haven't watched, but I don't know. And her character in this almost feels like maybe a bit of a reflection on her career in real life. It's almost a little bit meta, because her character, she plays Rachel, who's a journalist who isn't particularly successful, writes lists for BuzzFeed and things like that, and repurposes other people's articles and stuff, and sort of has a struggling career. But she's earned it herself, and she's quite proud of that. Her husband, her new husband, Shane, she's had a whirlwind romance with him. They've not been together that long, but she's been kind of sucked into his world because he comes from an incredibly wealthy family. He's very successful as a real estate agent, and she's kind of been dragged into this world of the rich and powerful. And she's kind of realising on this honeymoon maybe that not everything is as sunny as she thought it might be. Quite early on, Shane, they get to their room. It's this incredible room. It's probably nicer than any room I've ever stood in my entire lifetime. But it's not the exact room that Shane's mother booked for him. So he has a tantrum about that. He goes and complains to the hotel, and there's a whole running thing through the series about him being upset about not getting the right room in the hotel, despite them being in a gorgeous room that's probably better. But because it's not the room he thought he had, he feels victimised. Whereas because of the world that Alexandra Daria's character comes from, she's very much more, this is a very nice room. Can't we just have this room and enjoy our honeymoon? And she starts to realise through conversations with him that he doesn't see her as maybe needing to continue her career. He wants her to just sort of stop working and be his wife. And through conversations with other characters, she starts to realise that she's being seen by his family as a trophy wife, who's just good for kind of looking good and being pretty. And I can almost imagine it's possible that in some of these films that Alexandra Daddario has done in her career, she's maybe ended up feeling a bit like she's being hired to be there to kind of look pretty and attractive. And, you know, she's one of the most beautiful women in the world. I'm not like, she is absolutely gorgeous, but that's a thing that she's, you know, nature has made her, she looks a certain way, and then she obviously is able to dress and appear, and you know, she is a gorgeous woman. But I've seen from this and from True Detective and other a few other things she's done, that she's also a really, really, really talented actress, and she's really good. And the journey that she takes her on with Rachel, I mean, I might be wrong, I might be just making assumptions that I shouldn't be making, but I feel like you can tell that she sees a lot of herself in this character, because she just nails these scenes. There are scenes where she has to look shell-shocked and, you know, kind of panicking, and she just pulls them off perfectly. She's so good in this series. I mean, she should win an Emmy, I think, for this. She's so good. And yeah, the journey she goes on, the journey all the other characters go on, are just so fascinating and interesting, and it's funny. There's a couple of shots, like I think episode 4 in particular ends on this one shot that just had me like guffawing out loud, which I don't do very often. It's so funny at times. And it's just brilliant. Jennifer Coolidge is incredible in it. She's so good. Like, she's playing this character that just, it's just bizarre, but she's wonderful. She's so good. And yeah, the whole thing is brilliant, and I just loved it. I absolutely adored it. They've just announced that they're doing a second series, and I think it's going to be a bit of an American Horror Story style thing, where it will be a different White Lotus hotel somewhere else in the world, and it will be a different group of guests turning up and causing mayhem, rather than following the same characters again. Which kind of works, because you sort of see all you need to of those particular characters in this series. But I've got faith in Mike White now that he can produce another sort of really interesting and fascinating series. So watch it if you have an opportunity to watch it. If you get HBO Max where you are,
Definitely.
or Now TV, or however you watch Sky things, watch The White Lotus. It is amazing, and really, really reflective of the world, and just good, just really good. So that's my main culture catch up. The only other two things I want to mention are we talked a bit a couple of weeks ago about Donda, Kanye West's album. But it had only literally come out like an hour earlier when we recorded, so we hadn't had time to listen to it properly.
Yeah.
I've listened to it once in full since then, and maybe you could judge me for not coming to this conclusion earlier and giving it more of a chance it needed, but ultimately just the presence of Marilyn Manson and DaBaby on the album is too much to get over, and I can't deal with it. So I've not listened to it again since, and I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, I listened to it once, and I found it quite the fact that he doesn't swear, which is fine. You don't have to swear, but even I think there's been also censoring of swearing.
Yeah, there definitely is. Like, it's clean.
And it's just like, but that's not what the kind of music that you want to give people is it? Like what they're expecting, but also certain religious words that maybe you would say have been censored. I don't know. The only song that I felt like maybe I understand where he's coming from, and maybe he talks about his mum. And I try to put myself in his situation, and it's like, if you lose somebody you were so close to, like your mother, how would you react? And maybe this is, when did she die?
What, 2006 or something? A while ago.
A few years ago. And I was like, he's still mourning, because also I think the way she died was a total unnecessary way to go, because it was only for like a cosmetic procedure. It wasn't
it was
for
complications from the
anything,
cosmetic procedure, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't anything life-threatening before. So it was, and so it must be quite still hard to, because I think in that situations, probably myself, I would probably go, why did I allow my mother to do that?
Yeah.
Because it could have been completely avoidable. So I'm not sure if he's still having like a breakdown from that, because some people never come out of it. Because he was really close to his mum, wasn't he?
But it's a weird album because you feel like it's meant to be a sort of an album about that, but it ends up like everything he does, it's just about him. It's not about his mother.
But I have no time for it. I listened to it one more time just to give it a go. But like you said, having people that are not just controversial or problematic, but actually somebody that has been accused of assault, sexual assault, then, that's not being problematic. That's somebody being a criminal and a bad person. So,
and I think even when we talked about it last time, their song was still grayed out. You can actually listen to it, but it's on there now. So it's just sort of, I don't know. It's sad because it feels like there's the sort of the bones of an interesting project there. Like it opens with that chanting of Donda, which you mentioned that you didn't like particularly last time, and it is a bit of an odd thing. But I read that like the number of times that they say Donda at the start of the album is the same as her age when she died, and the rhythm of the chanting is meant to match her final heartbeats, and it almost feels like it starts from a place of trying to actually do something that honours his mother, and then as usual it ends up with just him rapping about he feeling victimised and how people don't understand him, and having a man who is who on the one hand will brag about being a billionaire, and on the other hand will complain about being a victim, just feels a bit pathetic. And it's upsetting. And then of course he's had a big beef with Drake, who just put out his new album with have you seen the cover art to Drake's new album?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Bizarre. And have you seen the title?
Yeah. No.
It's called Certified Lover Boy, which is one of the worst titles for an album of all time. And it's mad that Kanye's put out this album Donda, which is pretty flawed and hasn't got amazing reviews, yet is still better reviewed than the new Drake album, which people hate. So not a good couple of weeks for the biggest names in hip-hop at the moment, it seems.
I have never liked Drake. There's something about his music I don't.
You liked Hotline Bling?
I have no time for him.
You liked Hotline Bling?
Well, yeah, that was true. I forgot about that. But that wasn't really Drake, was it? Like that was a bit of a different kind of Drake.
No, he used to do songs a bit like that occasionally. Like he had another one called We're Going Home or something. But then his recent work just seems to be just rapping, just loads and loads of rapping without particularly interesting production, in my opinion. And it's quite, and like too many songs. Like his albums are too long now, and like Kanye's album's really long. But even if I was going to really try with Donda, at least like there were different ideas in the production of it, and it changes throughout the album. Whereas like Drake just seems like it's always the same sort of basic thing. Not particularly for me. But even his fans don't like this new one, which is interesting. But anyway, two albums that I do like that I've been listening to. Senjutsu, the new Iron Maiden album. We featured the single a few weeks ago when that came out. That just released, and it's another brilliant late-stage album from Iron Maiden. They're continuing to segue from like the short poppy metal songs that they did in their first stage of their career, like Run to the Hills and The Trooper and stuff, into these really long, complex, proggy metal tracks that they've been doing since the 2000s, and they're just brilliant at it. And it's brilliant. It seems like an amazing album. It's really long, but it's interesting and cool, and I like it. And then the new Chvrches album, or Chvrches, Chvrches. Screen violence is a return to form, in my opinion. I wasn't too keen on their last album. It went a bit too mainstream, but they've gone kind of back into a darker, more interesting place with this new album. And one of the songs even has Robert Smith from The Cure on it, and it's brilliant. So
Nice.
Senjutsu by Maiden and Screen Violence by Chvrches. If you want to listen to some good music, give those a go. And that's all my culture catch-up.
Nice. I like it.
Thank you.
Very good.
What about you? What have you been doing?
Very good. What have I been doing? So today I'm going to talk about a couple of films. I've got an album recommendation, and I'm going to quickly talk about a series I've talked about before. First, one of my favorite TV series of all times, well, one of my top fives, was a series that I talked about called Atypical. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and there's the story about Sam, who is on the autistic spectrum, and his journey from school to college. So they've just finished season 4, and that's the last season. They're not going to do another one, which is sad, but they wanted to end it on a high note and to kind of like end the journey for kind of Sam and the family. And it kind of went like full circle, and Sam kind of got his feet in the world, and he's planning a big trip to Antarctica. The last season is really good because it kind of tackles not just Sam's journey, but also his sister's sexuality and trying to find yourself in your school and the expectations of your school. So that's really good if you're young and you feel like you're supposed to do all these things for your career and your university, but as long as you don't get panic attacks. So that's pretty good. But in the latest season, because we discussed about if the actor that plays Sam, who is Gilchrist, is actually on the autistic spectrum, but he's not. But in the 4th season, 2 actors who are on the autistic spectrum are very present, which is really good. And one is Tal Anderson, who is basically well, they're both in college with him, and she's an actress who is on the autistic spectrum, and Dominique Brown. So that's really good. They also included people that are actors and are on the autistic spectrum, so to kind of make it inclusive.
Good.
But yeah, I'm sad but also happy that they decided to conclude it in a positive way where everything is just like finished, and in a way it's good not to drag things too much even if you love them. But yeah, so I watched a couple of films. I finally watched 2020's Roald Dahl's Witches. It's got a great cast. Annie, I think we have to call her Annie Hathaway now.
All right, okay.
Or is Anne still?
I have no idea.
Well, I'm going to say Anne, just so I don't sound like a idiot. Okay. So Anne Hathaway as the Grand High Witch, Octavia Spencer as Grandma, Stanley Tucci is in it. He's the owner of an expensive hotel. Chris Rock does the voiceover of the film, and then there's there's the main character Jazir Bruno, who's really good as Hero Boy. I think he's in the Christmas Chronicles. I think he's in number 2, and he's also in Atlanta. He's a good child actor. And yeah, it's just the story is an adaptation of the book, Roald Dahl's book, The Witches, which is about young boy and who loses his parents and goes and lives with his grandma, who then we discovers she's a bit of a potion maker. One day at the store, the boy meets this lady who seems a bit strange, who's got a snake, and then the grandma tells him that she is a witch. They escape the town they're living in because there are witches there, and they're going to this hotel to then realize that in the hotel there is this coven of witches convention where the witches decide that they're going to turn all the kids in the world into mice because witches hate kids. And is the story of hero boy and his grandma and two friends defeating witches. It had lots of bad reviews, this one, but it was like it's scary. Like if I watched as a kid, I would have been terrified. Anne Hathaway is very theatrical in it, but I think that's what you have to be if you're going to be a witch. The special effects when they take their gloves off and they have talons and their shoes off, they're pretty cool. And the mouth, because the mouth has got like really big, the corners of the mouth go from ear to ear. When she then goes, full witch, it's pretty terrifying. So I thought as a kid I would be pretty scared. It's a fun movie to watch. It's very colorful. It's like an adventure film. I don't know why it had such bad reviews. There's one bit where hero boy is somewhere and Anne Hathaway can smell him, and her nostrils become bigger and bigger, and it looks like a Looney Tunes kind of scene and it's really well made. She just like sniffs and her nostrils get bigger and bigger and her eyes get bigger and bigger. Wow. It's a fun film. I enjoyed it. And Octavia Spencer's always good. The cast is good, so the film is good. I think maybe if there had been a different cast, maybe it wouldn't have been as good. But I liked it. You haven't watched this one, have you?
No, I've not watched it. But the original film's really good, and the book's really good. So I'm sure there's credit to it.
Yeah, and Angelica Houston is amazing in everything. But yeah, I thought it is a good, scary children's film. If I watched it, it probably would terrify me for a long time.
The book is really scary. I remember the book really.
Yeah, that's why I never read it.
Really scary. For a children's book, it's really creepy.
Yeah, but that's why I never read it, because even the cover of the book terrified me, like, because it was like these, like, I don't know, they just looked really evil. Quentin Blake's drawings were kind of like, and so I never read.
Is there anything in the film about someone being trapped in a painting or something like that? Maybe I'm misremembering. I thought there was something to do with, like, as well as turning into mice, I'm sure there was a story of a girl that got trapped in a painting that really freaked me out. But yeah, scary times.
Yeah, those witches are horrific.
Certainly
terrible. And their feet. Oof. Yeah, and then I finally managed to watch the film Minari.
Oh, right, okay.
With Steven Yeun as the father, and then the other actor that maybe you would know would be Will Patton as a crazy farmer. But yeah, his wife is played by Yeri Han, and then the son and the daughter by Alan S. Kim and No Cho. And this film is a slice of life. So if you remember Dan, who recorded the top 5 video games episode, as soon as he watched it, he was like, Alex, you have to watch this film. It's a slice of life. It's up your street, watch it. And finally, nearly a year later, I watched it. And it's about this first generation Korean family who move from California to I think is in Arkansas, to have a better life. So they moved. So well, to have a better life. And it's just when they move there, the two parents have a different idea of what a better life is. The dad is more about wanting to try and create something, like a farm for the family to sell, Korean vegetables to the Korean immigrants. But the mother is more about work hard and look for the children. So they have very disconnected ideas of what their life should be. And so this is a story about their struggle to make a life in this place because they have different goals. It's definitely a slice of life. It starts from one point, it ends on another point, but there's no beginning, there's no end. It's just their life, and it's really beautiful, and it shows how difficult it must be. It must have been at the time. I know it's difficult now, but now we have all the technology. We know how countries are. But for first generation immigrants trying to make it a better life in a place that maybe they can't achieve. They can achieve things, but in a much more difficult way. And what you want as a family, do you want to work so your children have a better life, or do you want to better your life first to then give that to your children? So we know that first generation families work really hard so their children can then work less hard, etc., and then it goes. It's a really good film. I cried a lot. These kind of films make me cry because kind of at one point the grandmother arrives from Korea to help them, and they haven't seen each other for maybe 6-7 years, and when they see each other again, you can see how much they missed each other, and you can feel how happy is the daughter to have her there. And you realize what sacrifices people have made to leave their country and not to see their family anymore, and to just live in a country to have a better life, but the life is not that much better because you have to work harder. The acting is amazing in it. The grandma is played by Yoo Jung-yoon, and I think she won a few awards as best supporting actress, and totally deserved. She's amazing in it. She's a fun grandma, and your idea of her changes throughout the film, and she's amazing in it. Steven Yeun was nominated for an Oscar for this film. I think he was great, but I feel like his wife was Yeri Han was amazing in it. I think the son that is a bit cheeky, he was incredible in it as well. Like, I think it's just a great cast, and this film was, Steven Yeun was the first Asian American actor to be nominated for an Oscar. This was another film that was the film was actually nominated for an Oscar as well, wasn't it? Yeah, and is mainly spoken in Korean. There's very little English in it. So yeah, it's amazing that Asian cinema is, especially now Korean cinema, because Parasite won the year before, as a best film. So, you know, Korean cinema, but Asian cinema is kind of coming in the mainstream, and it's becoming, you know, this like as valid as, not that it wasn't, but now it's got the validation that, you know, it is great cinema.
Absolutely.
Because but yeah, it's a great film. It's a definitely slice of life. I don't know if you would enjoy it, but if you enjoy slices of life and you enjoy families and crying, watch it. I loved it. It was really, really good. And the director, apparently he wrote it and directed it. He was ready to go back to teaching because he wasn't making any money from writing or directing, and he gave it one last go, and he was like, I'm just gonna try and write something. And he just thought about his childhood and wrote Minari.
Wow.
Which which is really beautiful way to kind of like, he said, don't look for things, just look in yourself. And I thought that was really beautiful. And Minari is this water celery. He's the dad is trying to grow all these like beautiful Korean vegetables, and the grandma just put some water celery by a pond, and it kind of signifies the fact that, you know, the water celery just grows without any help, and maybe you can sell it more easily and give you more than actual vegetables that will take a lot of water and a lot of time. And so maybe is a film about looking what's in front of you and making it work. So I really enjoyed it. It was good. It was nice to
Sounds
watch
good.
it, and calm. No shooting, no no guns, no drama. Well, a little bit of drama. There's a bit of drama. Of course there is. And then I've got a recommendation for an album. I discovered this artist this week, but the album I listened to is her fourth album. So she's been around for some time. And the album is, the artist is called Little Simz. And the album's called Sometimes I Might Be Introvert. Have you ever heard of Little Simz?
Yeah.
Yeah? I never heard of her. Why have I not ever heard of her?
I don't know. Her last album was really big. Grey Area got nominated for the Mercury Prize, and
That's the thing. Like, she just popped up this week, and I was like, wow.
fair play.
But yeah, she's a British rapper, singer, and she's based in London, I think. Yeah, based in London. This album, which is called Sometimes I Might Be Introvert, is a fourth studio album, and it's really great. And I think it's definitely something that should be listened to. It's got is quite unique. And it talks about race, womanhood, gang violence, but there's a lot of like her childhood in it, and in fact there's a lot of like kind of children giving her advice throughout the album.
Nice.
It feels quite theatrical sometimes, and quite there's I don't know if you know Emma Corrin from The Crown. She plays Diana. I've never watched The Crown, but I know she does.
Right.
But she has a couple of interludes in the middle, and it feels a bit like Disney-like. So this album kind of feels like an experience.
Interesting.
In a way. And I love her voice. She's got a really kind of like Lauryn Hilly, sharp voice, and I really, really enjoyed it. And from what I read, she like the album is called Sometimes I Might Be an Introvert. I think she wants to become bigger, but also she doesn't feel that maybe she gets the same praise than maybe the male counterparts in her kind of genre are having.
Absolutely.
and so and I thought that was interesting because of also like the name of the album. Sometimes I may be introvert, but she wants to become bigger and the same and be considered the same as and I think poetically and how she writes, we talk a lot about Dave being an incredible kind of writer and poet, and I think she's there with him. Like she talks about her experiences and how she deals with like kind of her sister and the loss of her physically loss, like emotionally loss of her father, and I think she's great, and I think she could be up there with other of her male counterparts. So I would definitely recommend Sometimes I Be Introvert, and I want to listen to her other albums as well. And yeah, that's my culture catch up for the week.
Nice. No, yeah, you're right. Little Simz is definitely a big talent who. Hopefully this album, she kind of like Grey Area seemed to get her noticed sort of in the music industry world, and then hopefully this album will get her more mainstream recognition. No, she's good. I'm glad that you have found her. Good culture catch up. So
nicer.
Yeah.
Sit down at the back and be quiet and get out your book because it's time to discuss your homework. Now.
Homework time! I can't wait to talk about this film.
Which one?
Sorcerer.
Okay.
All right.
Well, first we're going to talk about Emma.
So last week we did what was it? Remakes and reboots.
Yes. So one of yours was the latest adaptation of the novel Emma by Jane Austen.
Yes.
A sort of remake.
And I had to watch Sorcerer.
And you watched Sorcerer.
Which I still don't understand why it's called Sorcerer.
No, neither do I.
It makes no sense.
It's interesting, really, because they're both films that aren't really remakes, but sort of you can put them in the category of remake, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because the director of Sorcerer has said that he doesn't see it he sees it as another adaptation of the novel rather than a remake of Wages of Fear, but it's sort of a remake of Wages of Fear because it's the same story. And then Emma again is sort of a remake of the ones that have come before because it's telling that same story again. But they're both literary adaptations. Emma is a 2020 period comedy drama film. It's stylized with a full stop. Do you know why that is?
Oh, actually, I don't.
No, neither do I. I don't know why they've done that. But it's Emma, period. Full stop. Boom. It's directed by Autumn de Wilde, who I don't really know, actually. I think she's mostly known for music videos and other sort of commercial work. This might be her first film. It is her first film.
Yeah, it is. And you can kind of see it because it's very beautifully, like, even if maybe you don't like the film, if you can admit that it's beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got an incredible eye.
She has. And yeah, it stars our favourite, Anya Taylor-Joy, as Emma Woodhouse. A young girl, is she meant to be 21? I think.
Okay.
Who is in... Because I've not read the book Emma. I don't really know the story of Emma particularly until I've watched this movie, so this is kind of all new to me. But she is she's a young woman who comes from nobility, money. She's wealthy.
Money.
She comes from money.
Yeah, definitely wealthy.
Her father, Mr. Woodhouse, is played by Bill Nighy. And her neighbour, George Knightley, is played by Johnny Flynn. Is he her neighbour? I read he was her neighbour. Is that right?
Yeah.
Who she's sort of grown up with. They're the main two characters, really. Anya Taylor-Joy's Emma Woodhouse and Johnny Flynn's George Knightley. Johnny Flynn, I mainly know from having been the person who made the theme tune to Detectorists, one of my favourite sitcoms. So it's interesting to see him popping up here as an actor. Although I know he's acted in other stuff. He played David Barry in that recent David Barry biopic. You've also got Mia Goth as Harriet Smith. Miranda Hart is in there as Miss Bates. And a whole load of recognisable British sort of character actors pop up as various different characters. It sort of follows Emma as she plays matchmaker for her friends. Is that fair to say? And in particular takes interest in Harriet Smith, who I think is a girl of not particularly prestigious background.
Yeah. She's not. She doesn't come from money like Emma. She hasn't got the money.
But Emma kind of wants to put her into money, maybe at the expense of what Harriet wants. It seems.
Yeah, absolutely. She's a busybody.
Yeah. She's a busybody. She's a bored busybody involving herself in other people's lives. Sort of. Yeah. Seemingly at the expense of her own life at times.
Yeah.
Or is sort of almost
I think she knows,
uninterested in her own sort of life and is more interested in the lives of people around her, it seems.
Yeah.
I guess.
I guess so, yeah.
It's a very sort of stylish film. It has a really strong colour palette it's sort of pastel colours, I suppose. It uses a lot of pastel colours, and it has these very beautiful big sets. And it uses, and again, something else I think that comes from, I don't know actually. It's almost Wes Anderson-y at times in its adherence to its colour palette, and it uses a lot of straight-on shots, like dead-on centre shots in the way that Wes Anderson will do, but it doesn't do it exclusively. It kind of alternates between a more traditional filmmaking style and then something that seems more akin to Wes Anderson. I sort of I can see the quality of it in that it Anya Taylor-Joy is brilliant in it because she's brilliant in everything. Yeah. The other actors are all really good in it. Yeah. Even, I guess, Miranda Hart is probably good in it.
Oh, yeah, because she's playing a very annoying lady.
Yeah, she is playing a very annoying lady. But it was a story that I didn't know. I don't know the story of Emma, really. And if I'm being honest, it was a story that I didn't really connect with at all, which probably kept me from loving it as much as you, possibly. Just in terms of, I have a general disinterest in upper-class British period dramas. And that's what this is. And it's quite light, but it's meant to be light, right?
Well, it is supposed to be light because Jane Austen was making fun of all the stupidities of these noble people, what they were doing and their etiquette and different things. You know, you can't touch each other, you can't do this, things need to be a certain way. Like, it's kind of it's her satire of the kind of people, the time. Yeah. How the stupidity of people at the time. But the thing is, though, like, you're not interested in this kind of stuff, but you found it enjoyable because of Anya Taylor-Joy.
I found her very watchable.
It's amazing, isn't it? Like, it doesn't matter if you, like, the fact that she can make something that you might not enjoy. Okay. Yeah. Because she's in.
Yeah, I'd probably say that I didn't really like the film, but I enjoyed watching Anya Taylor-Joy because she's great.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing, isn't it? She's incredible. Like, I didn't expect you to like the film. I think you have to read the book and enjoy the work of Jane Austen and have been a girl when you read this and then seen Gwyneth Paltrow ruining everything, and then Anya Taylor-Joy making it all better.
Yeah, fair enough. Do you think there's a version of this film that is like much, much, much more stylish and really leans into the satire angle of it, and maybe almost finds... I found some of it just quite stilted. Like, when it wasn't being Wes Anderson-y, it was a bit sort of by the numbers, sort of sat around in boarding rooms. It almost needed to have, for me, more... But this is probably, again, because it's just something I'm not interested in, but if it had more speed to it, I might have found it more interesting. Like maybe something that was less faithful to the Jane Austen novel and maybe brought it closer to modern interpretation.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I like I said, I liked it because it kind of shows the ridiculousness of social etiquette. So sometimes when the scene seems to be like very like, I don't know what to do, or just nobody doing anything until somebody says, the person that's supposed to say something says something.
Yeah.
I find those bits really funny because it's like, it's so silly. I know that was social etiquette, but at the same time, why are we following this so much, and how silly is it? You know?
It's interesting because I think I struggled to focus on what was happening so much that I didn't get from it until you said it now that was what it was meant to be about, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they don't have, like, you know, you have to kind of like period dramas, I think.
But it's because I love Little Women. Little Women's an amazing film.
Oh, but it's totally different
No,
to Little Women. Little Women is not a satire. Is not supposed to be funny. Is about these girls that it's just two different worlds.
Yeah.
Little Women.
But I mean, I can enjoy
Emma.
I can enjoy a period drama.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I got the satire in this. I don't know if I got that it was meant to be funny. But I enjoyed Anya Taylor-Joy because she's great.
Yeah.
And I was always going to watch it. I'm glad I've watched it. I found, one main complaint is that I hated Bill Nye in it.
Yeah, he's annoying.
I found him so irritating.
Yeah, well, because in Jane Austen, there's always seems to be like one of the parents to be a germophobe or what's it called when you feel like you're always sick?
Hypochondriac.
Hypochondriac. There's always a parent that's like absolutely so annoying that you just want to kill them. It's just a thing that she does, and so I thought he was hilarious in it because it's just like, oh, it's so melodramatic and so annoying, and
But I liked Anya Taylor-Joy in it. I liked Johnny Flynn in it. I thought he was actually really good. His performance was really good.
So good.
And Mia Goth as the schoolgirl that Emma's trying to kind of lead through society. She's brilliant in it. The three of them were sort of my anchor points in the movie, and who I enjoyed. Yeah. And then Bill Nye I found quite irritating. And then the
priest is the worst.
Oh yeah, the priest. Oh, and it's her from it's the actress who's in Sex Education that plays his wife, right?
Yeah,
she's pretty funny in it, actually. She's only in a handful of scenes.
Yeah, she's
funny.
funny.
There were definitely scenes here and there. If it had been an hour and a half and they'd sort of trimmed stuff that I found boring, I'd have probably enjoyed it. Yeah. Whereas overall, I came down a bit more negative on it. But definitely can appreciate the craft and art of it, but it's not entirely my kind of thing. So, yeah, an interesting one this week.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. I'm glad you watched it. Oh, yeah. Cool.
Oh, and I'm glad that I've seen Anya Taylor-Joy make herself bleed from her nose. That's a weird thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Great chemistry between Anya Taylor-Joy and Johnny Flynn.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
That was pretty cute. Gave me a little bit of a flutter. Yeah. So,
you watched Sorcerer.
I watched a film called
A film that you
Sorcerer.
could probably have easily gone your entire life without ever even having heard of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. A film that could have gone my entire life without seeing, hearing of it, or even imagining
But now you
it.
have done.
So I have seen it. Yeah. So, so I watched 1977 Sorcerer, directed by William Friedkin, which has done a few films, The Exorcist, French Connection, others.
There's a recent one with Matthew McConaughey. What's it called? Killer Joe. That movie is amazing.
Killer Joe, yes. So a good, experienced director. The cast, there is Roy Schneider, Bruno Kremer, Francisco Rabal, and others. I think the only one that I knew was Roy Schneider from Jaws and The French Connection, and Frederick von Ledebour from somewhere. I can't remember exactly from where, but I've seen him in some old films, and he was the guy behind the bar.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so it's a film about a gangster, Italian mob gangster, a banker, a hitman, and a terrorist. They all do something, but the only people that we know about are the gangster, the banker, and the terrorist. They all find themselves in this small village in South America. The beginning of the film, we get a very long setup of what the banker, the gangster, and the terrorist have done. So we start with the terrorist in Israel. Interesting moment that was. I think that was a great filmmaking, very kind of like, it starts very kind of calmly, and then they leave a bag, a bomb explodes, and then everything goes ba 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 ba. And then cut to France, where this guy is having some problems. I think he's a crooked banker, and he's having some bad things, and he escapes. And then we go to New York. I guess it's New York.
Or Jersey or somewhere like
where, somewhere in there, where there is a robbery in a church, and then an accident, which that was the most tragic accident ever. Like, they weren't going that fast. So Roy Schneider is driving as a driver, and I thought that was hilarious though. Like, he's not driving that fast because nobody's following them, and then suddenly this lorry comes and the car hits the lorry, but the car just is like, it was going like at 600 kilometers an hour, and it just topples and everybody dies in it. Crazy. And they just robbed the church of a very influential gangster. So I don't know how all three from three different countries find themselves in the dirtiest South American village on earth. Like, it was filthy. Everybody's filthy there. Everything is disgusting there. Did you know where it was?
I don't think it ever really makes it clear where it's meant to be.
No.
It just sort of it's on the opposite side of South America to where they want the stuff to be, basically. That's all that matters.
It's basically hell on earth. Nothing works. The job is terrible. There's no water. Everybody's filthy. It's hell on earth. And you clear that these guys escaped something to then go to hell.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And all of this happens in the first, maybe, I don't know, I think it's about 40 minutes. And not much dialogue happens. Very little dialogue. Just the essential. This film is about essential dialogue but lots of like beautiful shots and interesting shots. And so they live in this place, and then this guy arrives on a plane, and we discover that he's a bit of a, I think he's the hitman. I think he's a bit of a crook as well. So every crook that's ever lived on Earth lives in this city in South America.
Well, at least 4 of them.
And they all adopt Spanish names, but none of them speak Spanish.
Yeah, they're not good people.
Yeah, so they're not good people. No, they're clearly not good people, but every person that has not been good lives there. And so they work there. It's pretty like normal. They show the everyday life of these people and how the police is kind of crooked as well. Crooked. No, what's the word? Corrupt. Yeah. So the police is corrupt, and there is an explosion. I think they're trying to bring oil somewhere. Oil or not?
I think it's oil. I think it's to do with oil. It's an oil company.
Oil, yeah. And the place explodes.
Yeah.
And so it's everybody's job is in this oil thing. And then from that explosion, then we get to 2 people trying to move some really explosive materials from one place to another. To make it explode even more? Was that the idea?
Well, I think the idea is possibly that because of this explosion, the line, the drill that they've made into the oil well has collapsed, and they need to do a controlled explosion to reopen it and access the oil again.
Okay. So yeah. So I was like, okay, I missed a bit. I was like, why are they trying to make? And so they have to move this really explosive. What kind of material is it?
It's dynamite that is leaking nitroglycerin.
Dynamite that's leaking nitroglycerin, and the scene is beautiful. They go in this place where it has been raining, and there's probably been an explosion, but nothing has exploded. But this guy goes and he picks up something that looks like water, and is very careful. It's like, oh, what is this? What is this? And it is not water, because when he shakes it off, it explodes.
Yeah.
So you know that the stuff is highly explosive. Yes. And so they have to move these boxes of highly explosive liquid nitroglycerin from one place to the next. And then they have to find 4 drivers that'll be very good at driving these places. And they do. In the hitman, in the banker, the gangster, it wasn't the hitman first. Somebody else, but then something happens and the hitman happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they have to take this nitroglycerin from one place to the next without moving it very much. In the in a South American jungle with terrible bridges, with trees collapsing, and that's the film.
Yeah, and don't forget the guerrilla fighters.
The guerrilla fighters who can't drive. Yeah. So, there's a lot of silence in this film.
Yeah.
A lot of silence. There's not a lot of dialogue. The bridges are amazing. Like, how on earth did it not? Moving it a little bit would make it explode, but these bridges don't make anything explode. At some point, it felt like a horror film. There was a lot of shots. There was a lot of rain, and at one point, some weeds attack.
Yeah.
The van they have to drive, and it's crazy. And it's interesting. It's amazing that this guy managed to make a film about moving some explosive liquid from one side to another with very little dialogue.
It's the second one as well. It's a remake. They've done it twice.
Yeah, they've done it twice, and it's masterfully made. It's beautiful to watch. You can see that the guy that made it knows his cinema.
Yeah, and they did it all practically. The scene on the bridge is they just had to do it. It's crazy.
Yeah, so it's very well done. It was enjoyable to watch. I never thought I would watch a film about this, where the enemy is the nitroglycerin. But yeah, it was fun. It was very long though. It's like 2 hours, and after a while, I was like, "Come on, just go over," because there's bridges and bridges and bridges, and not everybody makes it.
No.
Of course, not everybody makes it. But you can imagine who makes it. But yeah, it was good. There was a bit of tension. I read some trivia. There was a bit of tension while filming it between Schneider and the director.
Yeah, they're both quite big characters, I think.
Yeah, they didn't really get along very well, but I think that was I think that worked for Schneider, because I think he's not the nicest, and but that's what it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to like him. And it ends in a very interesting way. Like, it ends in a way that you don't know what's going to happen. So that ending is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you wonder if it was the corrupt police that allowed the ending to happen, or somebody. But yeah, it's interesting. Fun film. Definitely a George film.
Yeah, it's my kind of film.
Yeah.
But also, just, I don't know, I just have a big appreciation for cinema from the 70s, where they had to just get out there and do it. They couldn't fix anything on a computer when they got back to this. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just had to be done, and that was it. And it's kind of visceral and real, and yeah. Well, I'm glad you watched it, because it's not a very well seen movie.
No, me too. Yeah, it was fascinating.
Good.
Fascinating.
Fantastic. Okay. Are you ready for a top 5?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Our top 5. Yeah.
Zombie movies.
Zombie movies. Zombie movies. I'm not sure if one of them I already spoke about, but yeah.
Well, I definitely want at least one of mine, if not a couple of mine, I've spoken about before. But these are the films I think are good zombie films, important zombie films. So let's talk about.
You.
Okay, I'm going to start with my number 5 pick, which is a 1998 direct-to-video film. It is a tight 77 minutes long.
Oh.
And it is the iconic Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. Have you seen Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island?
I don't think so.
Oh, it's a good film, man. It came out in 1998. I was 10 years old. I certainly would have rented it from Blockbuster or just had the video. I can't remember which one. And it is the tale of Shaggy, Scooby, Fred, Velma and Daphne, otherwise known as Mystery Inc. The film opens with them all split up and separated. Daphne and Fred have started producing a TV show called Coast to Coast with Daphne Blake. And she's just announced that she's doing a new series where she's going to look for ghosts. So Fred has the very clever idea of inviting and reconnecting with the Mystery Inc. team and getting them all back together. Shaggy and Scooby are working in an airport as a customs dog and his handler. And Velma is running a kind of bookstore. And she has a line where she says, "Solving mysteries was a lot more fun than selling them." So they get back together to go on this ghost tour and try and find a real ghost. And here's the twist for this that made this quite an interesting film. I think this is the first ever time that they're real. The ghosts are real ghosts in this movie, in this Scooby-Doo movie. Historically, up to this point, it was always a guy in a mask, and he'd always go, "I'd have gotten away for it if it wasn't for you meddling kids." Yeah. People believed that there was a giant lobster man, and now you've made it all shown to be fake. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, they're real zombies. That's one of the many twists that this film has. This film is crazy. So they end up in New Orleans. They're complaining that everything they've seen has been fake, and they're overheard by Lena Dupree, who tells them that she knows where they can see a real ghost on Moonscar Island. And she takes them to Moonscar Island and introduces them to her employer, Simone Lenoir, played by Adrienne Barbeau, who used to be married to John Carpenter and was in The Fog and is a crazy good actress who lends her voice to this movie. Also featured in this movie, voicing a character called Snakebite Scruggs, Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker himself, during his kind of wilderness years in the late 90s, where he was mostly doing voice work, I think, pops up in this film. And they go to investigate, and they discover ghosts, zombies, and all sorts of other things, along with maybe some werewolves or werecats that they have to escape from. And it's a bit of a nostalgic choice, and I hadn't really thought of it until I was looking through a list of zombie movies, and I was like, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. I remember that, and I watched it over and over again when I was a kid. I used to love this movie because I loved Scooby-Doo when I was growing up.
Yeah,
and I always thought it was really cool that it was actually real, for once, like a real ghost and a real zombie and stuff like this. And it has a genuinely, beyond it just being real for once, there's another twist in the film that I think is like really, really good and really well done. It has an amazing soundtrack with like a couple of songs that they've produced just for this film about them looking for ghosts and things that are really cool. And it was successful enough that it spawned like a whole series of these direct-to-video animated Scooby-Doo movies in like the late 90s, early 2000s that were all real, like all real ghosts and real things. There was like one where it was like a cyber chase and all these other things. And there's a sequel called Scooby-Doo Return to Zombie Island, which I haven't actually seen, but I might have to watch that at some point. But I watched this movie last night after I watched Emma. I kind of treated myself and watched Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, and I decided it was going to be in my top 5 because the zombies are pretty cool and pretty different. Actually, if you watch the movie, you'll see maybe a take on zombies that isn't often in films. And a zombie gets its head ripped off at one point, so you've got actual like fun zombie action. And it's a genuinely well-reviewed movie. It's got 88% on Rotten Tomatoes. And Entertainment Weekly's Joe Newmayer praised the film as fast, fun, and filled with knowing winks.
Oh, interesting.
So there you go. Oh, and also, I once went to see the amazing stand-up comedian Stuart Lee, and he did about a 20-minute long routine about this movie that was very funny, that I particularly enjoyed as I was such a fan of it.
Amazing.
He compares running Zombie Pirate Island to the regime of Margaret Thatcher, which is pretty good. So there we go.
Great.
Yeah, man. Oh, and one last thing is Stuart Lee very, very hilariously calls it Scooby-Doo on Zombie Pirate Island, which I don't know why that makes me laugh so much, but it does.
Why?
So that's my number 5, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. What's your number 5?
Okay, so my number 5 is 2019 horror zombie comedy, Little Monsters.
Oh, love it. Lovely movie. Fantastic film.
I spoke about it before on the podcast.
We have.
It stars Lupita Nyong'o, Alexander England, Josh Gad, and it's about this school trip where Lupita Nyong'o is a teacher to I think it's a petting zoo. Is it a petting zoo?
Is it a petting zoo?
Like a theme park? Not theme.
It's
park,
it's like a sort of low stakes theme park for young children,
it's
combined
like a
with a petting
theme park. Yeah, where Lupita Nyong'o takes her class, and one of the children's uncle joins the school trip, played by Alexander England, because he seems to like Miss Carolyn very much. And this theme park is right next to a zombie facility, experimenting facility, and there's a bit of an accident, and these zombies escape. And it's a film about Miss Carolyn trying to save the kids from the zombies. It's fun. It's a really fun film.
Yeah.
Unexpected to see Lupita Nyong'o in such a role.
Yeah, in an Australian
is-
zombie film, it's crazy.
In an Australian zombie film. It's really fun. It's great. There's a great, the ending with the Shake It Off is amazing. Apparently, they weren't going to give them the rights to the song, but Lupita Nyong'o asked Taylor Swift if they could use it, which is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
I love this film. It's a zombie movie, which is not too scary, and it's fun and enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a film that wasn't huge. It's not like the most well-known blockbuster zombie movie or anything, but every single person I've ever spoken to who's seen it really, really loved it. It's the kind of movie where I think if you watch it, you'll probably definitely like it, because it's just really...
Yeah.
It's funny, but it's also got a great kind of lightness of touch and tone to it that just makes it really pleasant to watch. And there's the very funny running joke of Lupita Nyong'o trying to hide from the children what's actually happening is great.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Just jam.
It's just the children. Yeah, it's just jam. The children don't need to know what's happening, and she just protects them in the best way she could possibly do. So it's a really, really cool film.
Yeah, no, I loved it. Good choice.
What's your number 4?
My number 4 pick is a pretty interesting zombie movie from 2019, written and directed by Jim Jarmusch. It's a very mixed opinion on this film is crazily mixed. It had like the full range of reviews. I watched it with my brother, and when it finished, he said, I think I hated that film. But I really, really enjoyed it, and it is 2019's The Dead Don't Die. Have you seen it?
No.
Ooh. It's about a zombie invasion in a town called Centerville, and it mainly follows 2 police officers played by Bill Murray and Adam Driver, 2 wonderful actors that I adore. But it sort of flits between all these different people in the town and how they're dealing with this sudden zombie invasion. People like Tilda Swinton is in there, playing like a Scottish samurai lady, which is interesting. Chloe Savini as another police officer. Steve Buscemi's in this movie. Danny Glover, Caleb Landry Jones, Selena Gomez in a small but brilliant role. She's really, really good in this film. Rosie Perez. Iggy Pop is in this film, playing a zombie. Iggy Pop, yeah. The RZA is in this film. Carol Kane, who you might know from The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Larry Fessenden. Sturgill Simpson, the famous singer, is in this film, and he wrote the theme song for the movie. And kind of what I love about this film is, and what some people hated about this film, is it's a film that knows it's a film. It's pretty meta. Like, they talk in the film about Sturgill Simpson having done the theme tune for the film, and that's just like the beginning of how kind of self-aware this movie tends to be. And you either sort of, when you start watching it, you either immediately get what it's doing and go with it, or you hate it. And it seems like I can't judge somebody that hates this film because it's pretty bonkers, but I don't know, there's just something about it I really adore. I really, really like it. It's fascinating, and it's just got great, like, it's really deadpan. There's a great bit where they're investigating a crime scene, and Bill Murray is sort of like, "What do you think's done this?" And Adam Driver's just like, "Ghouls. I think it was ghouls," and just very. It's almost Wes Anderson-y at times, and maybe that's just because Bill Murray's in it, but it feels very specific and very kind of authored, and I really love it. Oh, and like it's just so, like Adam Driver's character has a Star Wars keyring on his car keys.
No.
Like it's very
Amazing.
sort of, it knows what it is. But yeah, no, it's a weird film, but I think people should check it out and give it a go. It's on Netflix at the moment in the UK. The Dead Don't Die. And you get to see Tilda Swinton fighting zombies with a samurai sword. Come on.
Amazing.
Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I haven't
You haven't seen it.
But your brother didn't like it.
No, he hated it. He absolutely hated it. Like it has jokes in it about no, I won't. I don't want to spoil it, but it's pretty sort of self-aware. It's very self-aware. If you like that sort of thing, you can get behind it. But if you don't, you're not going to enjoy it. What's your number 4?
My number 4, we are still in the kind of comedy, kind of light zombie kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because maybe that's what I like about zombies. I don't know. But yeah, is a film from 2009, Zombieland.
Nice.
Yeah, I love Zombieland. Great cast. Jesse Eisenberg as Columbus, Emma Stone as Wichita, Woody Harrelson, which I think anything he's in, he's just the greatest.
Yeah.
I would love for him to be my friend. As Tallahassee, Abigail Breslin as Little Rock, Bill Murray as Bill Murray's in it, and is set 2 months after the zombie apocalypse has exploded.
Yeah.
And Columbus, played by Jesse Eisenberg, wants to try and make it to his parents' house to see if they're alive. He's got a list of things that he's prepared himself to fight the zombie apocalypse, to survive the zombie apocalypse. And he meets Tallahassee, played by Woody Harrelson, and he is a zombie killer. He likes to kill
He
zombies.
really does.
Yeah, and they start traveling together, and they meet sisters Wichita, played by Emma Stone, and a Little Rock, played by Abigail Breslin, and they are not very good girls. They're kind of like con artists to be able to survive the zombie apocalypse, and they pretend that Little Rock is infected, but maybe she's not. But the girls' plan, is to go to an amusement park, Pacific Playland, because apparently there are no zombies there. On the way there, they go to Bill Murray's house, who pretends to be a zombie. And it's funny. And it's basically a story of people trying to survive a zombie apocalypse in the best way possible, in a funny way. And it's got a great cast. They then reach the park, but other stuff happens. And, there's Zombieland 2, so which I enjoyed as well. I thought Zombieland 2 was good.
I like it more than the first one.
I think I do. That's what I was thinking. Would it be Zombieland 2? But I think I really enjoyed Zombieland 2. But I think Zombieland is just so. It's just the beginning. So I think I really enjoyed it. But I like both.
Fair play.
And it's great film with a great cast. They work really well together. You can also see it in Zombieland 2. And it's a great film. Great zombie film.
Nice.
Zombie films are kind of a bit nerve-wracking, aren't they? Because there's not really an end to it. That's your life.
Yeah, you're not going to really solve
Unless
the problem of zombies, are you, generally?
No.
They can be quite existential threats.
Yeah, definitely.
The thought of an eternity of just this kind of world. Yeah. But Zombieland manages to find humour in that idea. Well done, Zombieland.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, good choice.
Yeah.
My number 3 is a slightly different zombie film. It doesn't have hordes of zombies in it. In fact, it's got, I think, just the one zombie in it. Or, well, it depends on if you count
Oh.
a non-human creature as a zombie. In which case it might have about 2 or 3. But it is it's a 1989 film directed by Mary Lambert, and it is based on a Stephen King novel, and it is Pet Sematary.
Oh.
Yeah, have you ever seen Pet Sematary?
Okay.
Oh,
No.
it's an interesting movie. It's flawed, but I really, really love it. It's about a family of the Creed family. Louis Creed, played by Dale Midkiff, who is the worst actor to ever play the lead in the film, I think. Denise Crosby plays Rachel Goldman Creed, his wife. Miko Hughes plays Gage Creed, their toddler son, who is amazing in this film, considering he is a baby, effectively. And Blaise Birdall plays Ellie Creed, his older sister. And they also have a cat called Chvrches, who actually looks very similar to your cat. Is I think the same type, like short hair sort of cat. Yeah. And they move into a new house in the main countryside, and their neighbour, played by the perfect Fred Gwynne, who was in The Munsters back in the 60s and plays the judge in My Cousin Vinny. He's just great. He plays Judd Crandall, the kindly old neighbour who sort of welcomes them to this country estate that they live on, or country lot. And in between their two houses is a extremely no, not busy. There's a road that runs between their two houses, and that's pretty much the only thing where they live is the two houses and then this road. And the road is a route for trucks, and they regularly blast down this road at high speed. And that's kind of the setup of the film. And Judd, very early on, takes the family on a walk and shows them the pet cemetery, which is where local people for years have buried their pets, often after having been hit by a truck on the local road. And the film sort of goes down that path of setting up this road as a very dangerous thing, and then maybe certain characters are meet their end due to this road, and Judd might just know a way of bringing them back with the power of the pet cemetery.
Ooh.
But as he says in the film, sometimes dead is better. Because maybe they don't come back quite as they left. And it's I don't want to, if you haven't seen the movie or know the story, I don't want to spoil it much beyond that, because it's pretty kind of seeing the shocking events as they unfold is kind of what's important in the film. But it's an interesting film about sort of it's one of Stephen King's darkest stories. It's really, really dark.
Okay.
And pretty brutal what happens to this family. And this film isn't perfect. It's sort of undercut at all times by how weak the main actor is. Sorry, Dale Midkiff, but you're just not good in this film. But the people around him are excellent in it. And it scared a generation of children with the character of Zelda. It's got these flashbacks to the wife talking about how she wanted her sister to die when she was young. And it's not really connected to the main plot of the film, but I guess it's just another way of talking about how characters deal with grief. And her sister was sort of extremely deformed and lived in this bedroom. And when it cuts and shows you it, they have a male actor playing the sister, and he's done up in all this makeup to just look like this kind of really, really horrific, terrifying image. And it's really that stuff's really scary. And then when it gets into the meat of the plot and bringing these things back to life after they've died, it's scary, and it's a different kind of zombie movie, but it is certainly about the undead coming back to life and terrorizing us. And I really like it. It's a weird, interesting, different film. They did a remake recently that was terrible. Don't watch the remake. But if you can, get out there and watch the 1989 original. And directed by a female director, which is amazing for a movie. A horror film in 1989 to be directed by a female director is pretty
amazing.
Pretty unusual. And she does, she's great. She does a really good job. So Pet Sematary, good film.
Why is it spelled like that?
Because it is how it's spelt in the film on the sign, and I think it's meant to be because it was children that started the pet cemetery and they didn't know how to spell cemetery, so it's sort of like,
Oh, okay. Because I was like, is that how they spell it in America?
no. It's like intentionally spelt wrong to show that it was
Okay.
like started by children. Yeah.
There's going to be another pet peeve that I have about American spelling.
No, they don't spell cemetery. They don't spell cemetery that wrong.
People. Yeah.
But no, yeah, gosh, it's great. It's really, really good. Good film. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is a zombie blockbuster.
Ooh.
It's a 2013 film with Brad Pitt called World War Z.
Nice.
I love this film. It's who else is in this film? Other people. I can't really tell you. Yeah, but I didn't realize. I forgot that Peter Capaldi's in it. I think he's in the place when they're in Wales or something.
Yeah. I think he is.
But you just need to know there's Brad Pitt.
Yeah,
Brad Pitt is this, he used to work for the United Nations. He doesn't work for United Nations anymore. He's over that. Now he's a family man. He's a family man that lives in a house with his family, a family man. And he's, suddenly, very suddenly, the world starts becoming plagued by this infection that is turning people in zombies. And these zombies are crazy zombies. Like, they're not like zombies. They're like, we're going to build a wall of zombies and we're going to go everywhere. So it takes very little time for people that get infected to become zombies. They're attacking his city. I think it's New York. I don't know. It's always New York for me. It's somewhere. And he manages to send his family away, and he gets into his helicopter, and it's basically the story of him going around the world trying to figure out where this zombie disease has started, if it was started in a lab, how did it get out? And it's just the story of him trying to find a way that this zombie infection is going, and trying to find if his family is alive. And all of this while surviving incredible zombie attacks. There's a scene in Israel where they managed to build this wall, and he's wondering, how did you know how to build this wall? And then people are singing, and then didn't realize that scene is incredible, isn't it? When they're singing, but they feel protected by the wall, but these zombies are not zombies. They're like mutant zombies that managed to attack the city and make a wall of zombies.
Yeah, they're all sort of clambering over each other in these huge herds.
Yeah,
pretty intense.
It's a very exciting film. It's very action-packed, exciting zombie film. I think it's really fun. It's a really fun film, and Brad Pitt is perfect in it, like always. And just talking about it kind of feels like a bit like COVID.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they need to find a vaccine to make zombies not zombies anymore. And so, it kind of feels a bit like COVID. But I love World War Z. I think it's a great zombie film. I'm not a big expert, but it did excite me to watch it. And I think it's great.
A lot of people dislike it because it's such a poor adaptation of the novel. But I think you have to watch it on its own merits, in which I agree with you. I think it's a really entertaining film.
Yeah, I haven't read the novel. I don't know. I think it's fun.
Oh, the novel's amazing, but it's nothing. I mean, it's two completely different. You might as well call it an adaptation of Harry Potter. It's as close to that as it is to the novel. But on its own merits, I think it's a really good film, and obviously Brad Pitt's brilliant in it. And it's
It's so exciting. It's just like, it's so like, oh my God, just get out. It's just one of those films where I just
it's definitely, I think, the most
shout at the
epic
screen.
scale that a zombie movie has ever reached. The most blockbuster it's ever achieved, and I think it's exciting to have that at least in the world.
It's a blockbuster zombie film, and like it was for a while. It was like Brad Pitt's biggest grossing film.
And for years they've
it's a zombie
been
film.
saying they're going to make a sequel, and David Fincher was going to direct it, which would have been.
I've been hoping for a sequel since they made it.
But a David Fincher sequel would be. I hope they get
amazing.
that. Yeah, that'd be fascinating. But yeah, no, a good choice. I like World War Z. I think it's unfairly maligned quite often by people, but I think it's a decent movie. I think it's good. Good pick.
Good.
Yep.
And we need your number 2
My
now.
number 2 is a film that I'm not going to speak about it for too long because I've spoken about it, I think, probably on at least 5 other episodes because I like it so much. It is a 2017 Scottish Christmas zombie high school musical film. Anna and the Apocalypse. Yeah.
I really want to watch it.
It is brilliant. It's such a good film. It stars a mostly unknown cast. Ella Hunt plays Anna in this movie. She's amazing in it. Mark Benson plays her father, and Paul Kay plays the head teacher of the school. And then there's a whole cast of actors in this that are great. It broadly follows Anna, a teenage schoolgirl, and her friends over the Christmas period as a zombie attack occurs. And they attempt to reunite with their families who are trapped in their high school. It isn't a super high budget movie like World War Z, for example. So the zombie action is good, but it won't be the most exciting zombie action you've ever seen. But they do a perfectly good job of it. But what makes this film stand apart, I think, is the fact that it's a musical. And that the music in it is really good. Particularly, there's a song early on called Hollywood Ending that's brilliant, and it has great choreography. And they just bring all these different things together: a Christmas movie, a high school movie, a zombie movie, a musical, a comedy, and they balance. That's like 5 different plates spinning that they have to keep going and balancing, and they balance them perfectly. And to do that on the budget they were working with, I think, is incredible. And I just love the movie, and I've spoken about it before plenty of times. So I won't go into it in too much more detail, but yeah, I just think Anna and the Apocalypse is one of the most sort of, you feel full after watching it. If you need to like calm down and relax and enjoy yourself, then it's the best solution. So yeah, Anna and the Apocalypse.
Cool.
Yeah. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is a film that I think I have on another list, but I can't remember. But I've spoken about it before. Everybody knows it. It's a beloved film. And it's a 2004 film directed by Edgar Wright. Shaun of
Yes,
the Dead.
please.
Have I spoken about this or Hot Fuzz?
You've definitely spoken about Hot Fuzz. I don't remember if you
maybe
talked about Shaun of the Dead.
Well, if it's in another list, it doesn't matter because it's fantastic. It's about Sean. Is not having a great day, and he wants his girlfriend is not very happy with him because they're always at the pub, the Winchester. She wants something different to happen, and but unfortunately, what comes between Sean and making his girlfriend happy is a zombie apocalypse.
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse, zombie apocalypse, and Sean has, with his best friend Ed, played by Nick Frost, has to fight these zombies to save his girlfriend, Liz, played by Kate Ashfield, and his mother. This film is fun. It's got a great cast: Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, Dylan Moran, Peter Serafinowicz. There is also a cameo from Jessica Stevenson. It's really fun, really relatable, and it doesn't start in the zombie apocalypse. It starts with a normal day, and by the end, the zombie apocalypse is kind of finished, and humans live with zombies. So it's kind of like a different take on zombies. Yeah. So it's really fun. It's just a fun film about a zombie apocalypse done in a perfect way.
Yeah, it's fair to say that it's a masterpiece. And probably one of the best films ever made. Of any genre.
Definitely. Yeah. So even if I put it in a list before, it's one of the best zombie movies.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Ever.
That's fair.
Yeah.
God, it's so good.
And if you haven't watched it, watch it. You need to watch Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, yeah. If there's anybody out there that hasn't seen Shaun of the Dead yet, then...
it's just perfect.
Ignore all of my films. Watch Shaun of the Dead. It's good. Perfect. Well, that brings us to my number one.
Yeah.
Which is a film I've talked about it before, I think, but I don't know if it's been in a list of mine before. But if you think of, like, what else has been in my list so far, like Scooby-Doo is a children's movie. The Dead Don't Die is like a weird meta comedy. Pet Sematary is just about one single zombie. It's not like a traditional zombie movie. Anna and the Apocalypse is a musical. This is my choice. This is my pick at number one for like just straight up. If you want a zombie film that's just a zombie film and nothing else, this is my choice for that. I think it's an.
Can I guess it?
Go on.
Okay, so what I think is a real zombie film. Something with 28 days later.
No.
Weeks.
No. Because also they're not really
Dead.
even, they're not zombies.
Dawn of the Dead.
No.
Oh, then I don't know.
You'll kick yourself because you could have I think you might have forgotten it because I don't think you'll have seen it, but you'll know it when I say it. It's a 2016 Korean film, Train to Busan.
Train to Busan! I really want to watch that one.
Ugh.
That was going to be my zombie marathon. I was going to do a zombie film marathon. The first one's going to be Train to Busan. And I need to watch it.
Train to Busan is incredible. Train to Busan is an amazing masterpiece. It's a modern day horror classic. I think it's going to go down as one of the all time great horror films. It follows primarily Seo Sok-woo, a fund manager played by actor Gong Yoo, and his daughter Seo Suan, played by Kim Suan, who wants to go to Busan to see her mother. So he is Sok-woo is a bad father. He is more focused on his fund management job than on his daughter. The film opens with him buying her a Nintendo Wii for her birthday. Seems like a great present, right, Alex? You'd be happy to receive a Nintendo Wii. She unwraps it, sees it. He says, "Good gift, right?" And she points across her bedroom to show the exact same thing that he gave her, like for Christmas a few months earlier.
Aww.
And he's not even managed to remember that he's already given her that gift. So he's a pretty bad dad. He decides that he wants to redeem himself slightly by taking her to Busan to see her mother on her birthday. So they get on the train and similar to Shaun of the Dead, everything is fine or seems fine at the start. On the way to a train station, they see a few police cars rushing by with lights on and you start to get a sense not everything is perfect. They get on this train and just before it departs, a zombie runs on and infects the train, and then the majority of this movie is about how this zombie infection moves through the passengers and crew of this train and how the people who are left try to survive. And it's such a genius idea for a film, like trapped in a moving train with zombies. You can't get off because there's even more zombies outside. You have to stay on the train, but oh my word, there were zombies. And it has its own little twists on the zombie monster. In this movie, they can't see in the dark, so anytime the train goes through a tunnel, that creates kind of opportunities for characters to move about the train. And all these different things. It's very, very clever the way it sets up its different set pieces. And Yeah, it's great. And just in terms of the rest of the cast, there's high school baseball players in there. There's kind of a whole, you get to know a whole kind of group of people as you're doing a lot of zombie movies. But standout characters are Seong Kyung, played by Jung Yoo Mi, a pregnant lady, and Yoon Sang Hwa, played by Ma Dong Seok, her husband, who is my favourite character in the film and is absolutely hilarious and brilliant and wonderful and just a great classic character. And it's brilliant. It's a brilliant movie. It was so good that it spawned a sequel, but the director kind of went a strange route with it, made this movie called Peninsula, which is nothing to do with a train at all, is more to do with just what might have happened in Korea, on the Korean Peninsula, 5 years later. Let's pick up and see. And he kind of tries to make a Fast and Furious style action zombie film. Similar to World War Z, it's one of those rare kind of big budget zombie films, but it's not quite got a big enough budget to really execute on what it wants to do. And it certainly loses a lot of the charm of what made Train to Busan so iconic. So it doesn't quite work. It's definitely not in my top 5, but the original is absolutely perfect. I adore Train to Busan. It really, really is fantastic. So it's my number 1 zombie film of all time for certain.
Nice.
Yeah. What's your number 1?
I really want to watch it. So hopefully that's my homework. Please, please, please.
Okay, we'll see.
I don't want to watch Pet Sematary.
No, I
Sounds too scary.
I definitely won't make you watch Pet Sematary. I don't think that you would
thank you.
like it.
No, I will never forgive you. Okay, my number 1 was on one of your lists, and I watched it because you gave it to me as a homework, and I love this film, and I think it's a great film. And my number 1 is amazing that we both chosen an Asian film, but my number 1 is 2017 One Cut of the Dead.
Nice.
Kamera o Tomeru na. And I know it was on your list, but come on. It's a great film. It's about this director trying to make a low-budget zombie film. It's kind of divided in 3 parts and shows you different aspects of filming this zombie film. It's fun, and I don't want to say any more because the less you know, the better you enjoy.
Yeah.
But it's just the trials and tribulations of making a low-budget zombie film. There's some twists and turns. It's fun. It's great. One of the best films I've ever seen anyway, but it's just amazing. And once you figure out everything, it's amazing.
Yeah. It's
like you said, you have to watch the first part and then, and the more you watch, the better it gets. It's just such a great film.
Yeah.
Great concept for a zombie film. It's funny, unexpected, and great.
Yeah, it upsets me to think about the number of people that have turned this film off in the first half hour, because you really do have to push through that initial half hour. But it's worth doing, and it's essential that it's there.
It's worth doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's essential, and couldn't recommend it more to people because it's so clever.
Yep, it is. It's only not in my list because
it's
been I've talked about it in another list, but I'm glad that you've got it on yours because it's great.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
And that's our top 5 zombie films.
Boom. I'm going to run through my list one more time.
Go.
So I've got at number 5, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. At number 4, The Dead Don't Die. At number 3, Pet Sematary. At number 2, Anna and the Apocalypse. And at number 1, Train to Busan. How about you?
Great list.
Thank you.
My number 5, Little Monsters. My number 4, Zombieland. My number 3, World War Z. My number 2, Shaun of the Dead. And my number 1, One Cut of the Dead.
Perfect. Love it. Love it. Love it. That's also a wonderful list. Well done. Thank you very much. I have got a few honourable mentions to go through, if it's okay with you.
Yeah, I don't for the first time. I don't have an honourable mentions.
Oh, well, fair enough. We'll have
because the other ones I didn't really enjoy as much, and so I don't want to mention them.
Yeah, fair play. I'll just run through a handful that I think are really good as well, and maybe you'll get some that you
Yeah.
want to watch. There's a Canadian film called Pontypool
Okay.
that was so close to being my top 5. It's a fascinating movie where the zombie infection is passed on through language. And hearing certain words kind of turns you into a zombie, and it's set in a radio studio. And it's crazy. It's a really, really good movie, unlike any other zombie film I've ever seen. And it's got just such an interesting idea at the centre of it. Obviously, the original Dawn of the Dead is incredible. You've said One Cut of the Dead. There's a super low budget indie movie called The Battery, which is amazing zombie film. The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue from the 70s. I talked about that a few weeks ago. Let the Right One In is brilliant. You've said Shaun of the Dead. The original zombie film, Night of the Living Dead, great. Wreck, the greatest found footage zombie movie. 28 Days Later. Obviously, that's great. The remake of Dawn of the Dead is Zack Snyder's only good film. It's actually fantastic. The remake of Let the Right One In, which is called Let Me In, is incredible. Chloe Grace Moretz gives one of her best performances of all time in that film. You've said
it's a zombie movie.
Sorry?
It's a zombie movie.
No, it's a vampire movie. Why have I put it in here?
Yeah, that's what I thought so. I was like, I've seen that, but it's not a zombie movie.
Oh, that's really weird. I've no idea why I've got Let the Right One In, Let Me In
Yeah.
here. I thought they were zombie.
Because it's like, oh, that's an honourable mention I have.
Yeah, that's bizarre. Why have I done that? Anyway, sorry, ignore that. Little Monsters that you've mentioned, and I think I was just thinking of general horror movies for some reason. I don't know why. Reanimator, a great Stuart Gordon, gross Lovecraft adaptation, weird zombie film, which is cool. So, you have no honorable mentions at all, yeah?
Well, no, not really.
Play. Okay.
Because I haven't really watched that many, and the other ones are just like, I watched Planet Terror, but
Yeah, it's a bit, yeah.
it's okay. It's not really an honourable mention. Warm Bodies, but it's not really an honourable mention, is it?
No.
Like, it's just film stuff.
Fair play. Right, well, how about homework then?
I don't know.
What are you going to watch? You haven't seen any of mine, I don't think.
No.
I think, you should just, Train to Busan. You should watch that.
Thank you!
Yeah, okay.
And you should watch.
Yep. Well, you could do a free choice. I could watch the other film from last week that I hadn't seen, Dracula.
Yeah, watch Dracula.
Okay, I'll watch Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula.
Dracula. How exciting.
Yeah, and you're going to watch Train to Busan, which is really, really cool, and I'm excited that you're finally going to watch it. I've got a couple of recommendations from Culture Catch Up that people should check out. So, in particular, this week, I think people should watch Annette, if they can get their hands on Annette, and The White Lotus, Mike White's absolutely incredible satire. How about you?
I would recommend definitely Minari. If you like slice of life films.
Yep.
And then I would definitely recommend Little Simz' new album, Sometimes I Might Be Introvert. Really, really good album.
Perfect. So there we go. That is our episode on our top 5 zombie movies. Next week is our 48th episode. And we're going to be doing our first episode dedicated entirely to an actor.
Yes!
Yeah. We're going to be talking about our favourite Keanu Reeves films. I think he's definitely the actor with the most crossover between our interests, I would say. We both definitely love Keanu Reeves. And it was recently his birthday, and we did a little shout out to him on our Instagram feed, so go and check that out.
From one of the best scenes in cinematic history.
Definitely. I mean, that could make the top 5, and he's only in it for about 10 minutes. That's how good he is in that film.
Yeah.
Always be my maybe.
It's just that scene when it goes, "It's Keanu Reeves." He's just like kissing.
So join us for that. That's going to be brilliant. Top 5 Keanu Reeves films. And then it'll be time for our next special, which will be on the film Pig. Pig, which is going to be exciting to talk about. It's a Nicolas Cage movie, and I'm certain at one point we'll do top 5 Nicolas Cage films because
definitely
that man's made a lot of movies. So if nothing else, there's definitely plenty to pick from.
Yeah.
So yeah. And yeah, follow us on Instagram, please. That's where we're most active. You can also find us on Twitter and other various places, but definitely Instagram is where you'll get the most sort of content from us. Go to Apple Podcasts, please. Rate and review us on there. Rate and review us anywhere else you can. Tell people to listen to us. Get our name out there as much as you can. Anything you can do to help us get heard would be appreciated. And we love you very much. We'll see you again next time, or you'll hear us again next time. Love you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Love you. Bye. Bye.